give a thank you to the Virginia Capitol Police and to the Department of General Services for helping out getting this all set up and this lovely podium so that we can get our permit and the podium and have this time to speak. Without their help, we wouldn't be able to do what we are doing right now. So, once again, I want to thank everyone for coming out today. It's really appreciated, and it does mean a lot. It means that you're willing to take time to come and show support for those who are being politically persecuted, those who are being detained and harassed and having their constitutional rights, not to mention human rights, under UN law being violated. This is a time to stand peacefully. This is a time to stand for what is right. This is a time to stand for justice. Look Ahead America condemns all political violence, period. Violence is not the answer. Anyone who committed illegal actions should have their day in court. And if guilty, they should be punished in the same manner as those before. For January 6th is not the first time the Capitol building was entered, and official proceedings had to be stopped and delayed as a result. We're looking for equality under the law and due process under the law. Is that so much to ask for? There's more on this page. Look Ahead America is standing up because people should not go months with beatings in solitary confinement, no hearings, no days in court, and with restricted access to see their lawyers on Zoom and otherwise. This is about treating people with dignity and respect. This is about treating them as Americans, subject to our Constitution and to justice. At least 80 right now who are arrested have not had their day in court. Their cases are not closed and they have yet to be sentenced. The Constitution is clear on this front. We know what justice looks like. We have the right to practice the religion that we choose. We have the rights to speak freely, to assemble, and to petition our government as we choose. We have the right to private property that the government cannot search in an unreasonable manner. They need a warrant on probable cause, on evidence or affirmation, and it must be limited and clear. No person shall be held unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury. No person shall be subject to the same offense twice, or be forced to be witness to themselves. No person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Everyone has the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury, to hear the evidence against them and to obtain evidence in their favor, and to have a lawyer provided if need be. And while waiting for this day in court, excessive bail shall not be required, and no excessive fines shall be imposed, and no cruel and no unusual punishments shall be inflicted. The rights of the Constitution shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. Does all that sound familiar to anyone? I pulled it right out of here. Reworded a little bit, but it came right out of there. I took it all from the Constitution, and everything I pulled from that document is being violated right now by the federal government. What's more is how this has broken precedent. Courts love precedent. We all learned that in the last year, haven't we? In 2018, there was a Senate hearing to decide if the Supreme Court nominee named Brett Kavanaugh would become a justice. Over 200 people were arrested over the course of 3 days as day after day protesters, some of which were the same offenders, and some of which were indeed violent, broke into the Senate and disrupted official proceedings. They were charged with various things like disorderly conduct, disruption of official proceedings, crowding, obstructing, the same things as on January 6th. And what did they get? They got a slap on the wrist, they were let out of jail, and they had a small fine, all in less than 24 hours. All we're asking for is that the political prisoners in DC who have been held for months, who in some cases are overcharged, beaten, isolated, kept from practicing their religion, and otherwise persecuted, that those people are treated in the same way the federal government has always dealt with these cases, that their rights enshrined in the Constitution are upheld, that they are treated fairly by the federal government. We are the land of the free and the home of the brave. We are not China, and we are not Russia. Our government must not persecute people for their political beliefs. Justice for J6. All right, so with that out of the way, I do have with me, if I can get to the papers, some letters from a few of the people who have been in the jail. I believe all of them are ones that were in the DC jail. I'm going to read a couple here today. And I just want to reiterate, we have at least 80 people who are still prisoners, and their sentencing has not happened yet, and the cases there are not closed. And in many of these cases, I think it's 80 as well, they haven't even accepted a plea deal yet. And there's someone that has something to say about plea deals as well in these letters. So I'm going to really read some of the letters. These are from the prisoners and or their families. So this is a letter from Shane Jenkins. My name is Shane Jenkins. I'm 44 and I'm from Houston, Texas. I went to the Capitol to attend a rally because I wanted to air my grievance with the government regarding election fraud, which I know took place. I had no intention of any violence that day. It was not until I was hit with a baton, pepper sprayed, and tear gassed, and watched a woman be beaten while unconscious on the ground and kicked by police that I took action. I will stand for what is right, and you cannot tell me that a woman being beaten on the ground was warranted. It could have been any of us. It could have been our mothers, sisters, or daughters. We are innocent and good men. We love this country. We continue to stand for righteousness. We need people to stand for what you believe and fight your fight as we fight ours. Violence is not the answer, but when innocents are being attacked, someone must stand up in that gap. We demand the DOJ release the 14,000 hours of footage from January 6th. It will prove us innocent. We thank you all for your continued support and prayers. We are thankful for the time we have had together, but we are ready to come home. We thank God for his son, Jesus Christ, and for these trials. God bless you all, and God bless the United States of America. The next one here, it's a little bit long, but I think the information here is very important, and the lead up is also important. Brandon was a 26-year-old who owned a chimney company and co-owned a tree company in upstate New York capital region. He was the youngest intern at a multi-state corporation at the age of 17. In college, he had the most votes as senator and represented his college at the SU-NY SGA meetings. As a senator, he increased recycling efforts, created and funded a wrestling program, and kept costs for students down overall. Though you wouldn't know this if you read the fake news, they looked him up on his Facebook, which has now been banned, and saw one job posted, a supervisor at a PCAL grocery store in 2012, which was true, and that multi-state company, he was the youngest supervisor and later youngest service action manager hired. But the fake news labeled him an unemployed grocery store worker because they couldn't find any other information about him online. The news labeled him to be a homeless pothead. However, Brandon spent years feeling like he had too much after being inspired by a parable of the rich man and sold most of his stuff to live inside the multiple RVs and buses that he's lived in over the years. This allowed Brandon to go without debt or loans and start 2 businesses. They were so good, these businesses, that multi-million-dollar companies offered to buy him out. He denied. The 6th was Brandon's first Trump rally ever. He was 28th in line at 11 p.m. the night before. In line, Brandon befriended 2 Secret Service agents, or members rather, who who invited him to bypass the crowd and enter VIP. Brandon happily accepted, making him the first so-called quote-unquote insurrectionist. Video proof of this can be found on TikTok. Brandon has no criminal history and committed no violence the day of the Capitol. In fact, Brandon has posted video to his TikTok of officers giving him directions and history on the areas he was going to, like it was a museum tour. He has another video of officers giving him rules to avoid getting arrested. Things like following curfew, commit no violence, don't go in closed off areas, and don't damage anything. He followed all of those rules. He was seen on video to be waving officers goodbye as he wished them to have a good day. He even struck up a conversation in the video with officers about why they didn't have helmets. None of which indicated to him officers felt like they were in any danger. Upon exiting, Brandon was seen brushing his teeth with the Capitol Police behind him, which hit the news, and posing on an undamaged motorcycle, which is now his most famous photo. Brandon left and was interviewed by CNN as saying, "It's really weird. Cops were on our side and supported us." Brandon got home and saw a totally different narrative on TV. As a result, Brandon tried to get the word out, but he couldn't. The story was always changing. Brandon's arrest was full of lies as well. The officer told Brandon he just wanted to talk, and his lawyer told him not to talk, so Brandon didn't talk and said only after a warrant. They arrested him mid-interview at a Hilton hotel. They would not allow Brandon to live in his bus and forced him to live with his mother, who abused him for years and viewed him as a terrorist. His probation officer forced him not to work his own businesses and told him he needed to work another job, one that only had one location that wasn't changing. So, of course, Brandon peacefully protested by applying to the FBI, the Capitol Police, the CIA, DNC, NSA, etc. Speaking of, Brandon is the only January 6er and the first January 6er to have a national security agency pressing ex parte charges against him, which means he can't view or defend against these charges. Brandon's lawyer said the person bringing charges is the same man who sent the Taliban to Guantanamo Bay. Brandon's bond was revoked for continually protesting his conditions while free, and he is now in jail, and this is not following his civil rights. Brandon was going to take a plea deal early on, but in jail he's gained his relationship with Jesus back, and he will not accept a lie on a plea deal, and is finally going to take a stand for his abusers. He will not accept any plea deal, even if it's time served, because he followed the orders of police. Brandon has utilized his skills as a senator and business owner and helped gather complaints from every member in the jail, and is handing e-papers to lawyers so a civil suit can finally begin. Their jailers will pay, whether in this life or the next. I thank God for the opportunity He has given me and putting us where He wants us. Thank you for your support. Please pray for us and support us on Give, Send, Go. My account will be posted tomorrow. Thank you. Oh, also, there's 2 Jews, 1 Muslim, 1 Mexican, 1 transvestite. Half of us are veterans. We are from all over, and 2 Lebanese Americans are with us. We have more diversity than other areas of this jail. The white suprematist narrative is garbage. I have 1 more here, actually 2 more rather. This one is, I don't know if I have their name on here. Oh, it's Lonnie. This one is from Lonnie. When I departed from the hills and valleys of North Alabama in January for DC, I did not expect that I would be spending my 71st birthday, which was January 17th, in the jail that has the reputation for being the worst in all of the United States. But here I am now, and going on 8 months in this DC disaster. I didn't commit any violence. I didn't break anything, and I came all by myself. But they got me charged with about 15 misdemeanors and 2 felonies. They had me quarantined twice and put me on suicide watch once. The way they treat you on suicide watch, at least for me, is enough to make you think even more seriously about it. I am on several medications. One is an antidepressant that I've been on for the last few years. The Veterans Administration put me on it, but it took about 4 months for the DC medical people to get the dosage right, and they can't seem to get the medications to us on time. I spent almost 10 years in the Army, a year of that in Vietnam, and even they were not as disorganized as this place. Writing about Vietnam brings back memories of the hippies and how they hated us and how they spat on us and called us baby killers. Enough of that. I must get back home and get back to the VA healthcare system. I'm looking at likely having to go get 2 more surgeries shortly, but I don't want to have them here because of the quality of care you get. My family has not been able to respond to my financial needs, and other inmates here from January 6th have responded like family, and I love and appreciate them so very much. Thank you for your support that you provide. The money will be put to good use. My life is in shambles since this fiasco started, and the funds will help put me back together and put my life back together. Your thoughts and prayers are much appreciated. God bless all of you. Lonnie. The last letter I have here is something that was supposed to be read last week in DC by Nicole Reffitt, but she was not able to make it. She is the wife of the J6 political prisoner Guy Reffitt. Nicole was scheduled to speak at the DC rally, and imagine our surprise to learn on the morning of the rally that she had never been allowed to leave Dallas, Texas. She was removed from 4 different flights. She was held overnight at an airport, and her computer was taken from her and damaged by the authorities. We had others that were in attendance at the DC rally who had also flew from Texas and witnessed Nicole being removed from the plane. This is Nicole and Guy's story. My husband is a political prisoner, Guy Reffitt. He was arrested for rhetoric and charged with a thought crime. He had been held in solitary for over 48 hours at a time. He has spent over 5 weeks without representation, 4 days in ICU due to lack of care for his medical needs. He has had little to no religious material or fellowship, no oversight of his civil liberties or safety. He is deemed an extremist, a domestic terrorist. Hell, we are, if you listen to the media, we all are. But for what? A political ideology? And even with all of that, I consider us blessed. Guy gets to have his day in court. Ashley Babbitt and Roseanne Boylan do not get that chance. Say their names. Ashley Babbitt. Roseanne Boylan.
Roseanne Boylan.
Ashley Babbitt.
Ashley Babbitt.
Roseanne Boylan.
Roseanne Boylan.
They matter. And today we gather to give them a voice, as well as my guy. The false narrative of January 6th being an insurrection, when no one, not one person, has been charged with this crime, is doing nothing but tampering with a potential jury pool and perpetuating fear, when in reality, the only thing to fear is being complacent. But they, the MSM, the mainstream media, and the corrupt politicians want us to be scared. To fear coming to our own nation's capital and to exercise our First Amendment right that was promised by our forefathers and criminalized by the current administration. But we the people will not be afraid, whether it is 1776 or January 6th. We the people are the guardians of our own sovereignty, not our government, not the mainstream media, but we the people. We have been lied to about leaving our fellow Americans in Afghanistan. We've been lied to about our national security, our border, and even our health. And they are lying about our patriots, rotting in the DC jail without due process. We are being used as examples to not resist, to not speak up, or this will happen to you. Trust me when I say this. This can and will happen to you if we, the people, continue to accept the status quo. They cannot lock us all up. They cannot shut us all up because we, the people, are going nowhere. When our Declaration of Independence was signed with the blood of our forefathers, we inherited liberty. That's with a capital L. Liberty that has been promised to all future generations. And we, the people, will not give that gift away. Guy came to D.C. for a redress of grievances, which is the right of all Americans. But the simple truth is, it is only your right if your ideology falls in line with that of the status quo. That is not what our forefathers and others have given their all for. We the people will not be intimidated or retreat. We the people will not leave our patriots to waste in a jail without a voice, without liberty. Those were Nicole's own words. All right, that's all the letters I had. So, yeah, thanks everyone for coming. I appreciate it. I love all these signs, particularly this one, and that one, and that one, and that one, and the one down there.
And you can write to the prisoners.
And yes, this is a good point. You can write to the prisoners. We do also have postcards for patriots. I will be collecting those if anyone wants to write one, so that we can send those off and get those sent to the patriots out there. So, yeah, there's nothing else on the agenda. Let's make sure we pick up after ourselves, and we got to be out here by the end of the hour, which is 8 minutes away. So, thanks everyone.
They only give a 1 hour permit. There's over 100 men and women in the United States of America in jail currently. We don't know how many in each state. There's approximately 47 in Washington, D.C., 5 new ones allegedly this week. And then in Virginia, I'm in Richmond, Virginia, there's about 20. But we don't know the truth about anything because the way they're being held and detained, they're not allowed to have contact with people, and they're being denied bail. So there's been about 598 plus arrested for January 6th around the United States, and over 80 to 100 are still in jail. And we don't know what percentage of those people are men and women, mostly men obviously, but in Washington, D.C., I've talked to their lawyers. The McBride law firm, Joe McBride from New York City, is one of their lawyers, and he confirms 100%, and look on his Instagram, McBride Law, New York City, Park Avenue, that the people being held in Washington, D.C. are not being given bail. They are not being allowed to see sunlight for months and months and months. And one of the black men being held was put in a pit for 30 days with solitary confinement. They're being fed moldy food and treated like it's Guantanamo Bay. So I'm being told that I'm supposed to call Washington, D.C. jail Guantanamo Bay for the January 6ers. Washington, D.C. jail has become Guantanamo Bay for the January 6ers. So that's Craig. He's a volunteer for Look Ahead America, Matt Brainard's group. Please go on their website, lookaheadamerica.org, and there will be rallies to update everyone on the status of the political prisoners around the United States of America pretty much every week. So if you need to know more, you can contact me, 917-287-1314, or you can look at Look Ahead America and look at their website and understand everything. We're in Virginia at the Virginia Capitol in Richmond. There's about 6 or 7 police walking around. They only got a 1 hour permit, and a lot of people are scared to come here because they're worried about facial recognition and being accused for things that they had nothing to do with. So the paranoia level is very high, and that's dishonorable in the United States of America. Everyone should feel respected, and everyone should feel like they have the right to be anywhere they want to be without getting falsely accused. So you can write letters to the people that are in jail. Just go on the Look Ahead America website and they'll explain to you exactly how to do it. That was like 25 minutes.